Hello everyone, my name is April and welcome to the Yoga Ranger Studio and welcome to your practice today. Today we're going to be working with breath or pranayama to really help anyone living with long COVID or anything in which you've been sick and you feel like there's a lot of tightness in your chest and your breaths aren't quite as deep, or anyone wanting to really explore the breath and help build more opening, more spaciousness. So we're going to start with a couple of things. We're going to do it a couple of different ways, and I find that these work best in this order, so feel free to explore on your own, but I really find that it helps to start on your back with a little blanket roll underneath. So all we need for this practice, if you have a meditation cushion or a cushion that will give you a little bit of lift for when we come up for a seated version of it. If not, you can use some blankets stacked up or anything, or even sit on a chair. A rolled blanket or towel, even just a towel rolled up. Just fold it over, get it into sort of a rectangle, and then roll it up so that you get a little bit of a lift. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of open the chest up a little bit so that you can breathe more easily. So we're going to start on our backs. Move my cushion out of the way here. And we're going to have that roll where we have it right down the center of the back. So you want to have your head supported here too. And coming all the way down onto your back. If you have a really long torso, you might want to have your hips down a little bit lower, but I have kind of a short torso, so we'll just have the head supported here. And we want to take that line of the blanket or the towel right down the center of the spine so that the shoulders open, so you'll feel them automatically kind of open here, and the hands go out to the side, palms up. Here you can choose to have your legs out straight, or you can even take them wide and drop the knees together. It's not really important how the lower body is set up. And just take a couple of breaths here. If you've been struggling with anything that has been restricting your breath, or any kind of illness that has restricted your breath, or you're just feeling that kind of restriction, this automatically gives you a little bit more ease in breathing. And we want to focus on that three-part breath. So a three-part breath is called a diaphragmatic breath, and it's really using the full space that you have in your lungs, and that includes a little part of your belly, the center of your chest, and also a little bit of your shoulders and collarbones expand ever so slightly. So this is not just the front body, it's the whole side body space here too, and the back. So think of that whole circumference of the torso as this space for room to breathe. And so we're just going to start with belly breathing. So just imagining breathing into your belly. And sometimes it can be easier to place a hand on there, or maybe even a little something that has some weight on it, like a sandbag or an eye pillow. Often works really well to put on your belly. If you have children, you can put a stuffed animal or a beanie baby. And just think about expanding out to the sides, left and right. So you can even take your hands to the sides. And feel not just the expansion forward, but a little bit up and a little bit out, left and right. I'm taking 3 more breaths like this. And you may already start to feel that breath moving up a little bit more into the space of the chest. So we have the space of the lower side waist and the belly, and then we have a little bit moving up a little bit more into the chest. And you can still stick your hands, so from your waist, slide them up just a little bit, and these ribs expand outward a little bit more too. So moving that breath and breathing into the belly and then the chest. Feeling everything move up and out and back, even into that roll of the blanket or towel. don't worry if any of these deep breaths are not quite as deep as you want them to be. Have patience with yourself. Over time, they will become deeper and deeper. And sometimes taking these deep breaths like this will make you cough a little bit. Let yourself cough, roll to the side, cough a little bit, and just let it be what it is. Not forcing too much. Just feeling a little bit more expansion. 2 more breaths here. And with that same breath in moving these 2 spaces, I want to just take your fingertips. I usually take my pointer finger and my thumb right to my collarbones, feeling on each side. It will be a very subtle movement here. So inhaling and exhaling belly, chest, and then collarbones. Making the most of the breath in that belly space. Two more breaths here. And without really paying attention to that breath, just let it be for 3 breaths. Notice how it feels. Notice if it's any deeper or any changes. Maybe it's just a little bit easier to breathe. Maybe the breath isn't necessarily deeper and fuller, but it may feel a little bit easier and less restrictive. Now very gently, we're going to roll over to our right side and make our way up. Here you can sit on that meditation cushion or a cushion to give you a little bit of lift. It is often easier to do breath practices if you are up higher. So it does help to have a little lift. It could be a couple of blankets or towels or just a stack of pillows or on the couch. But sit up nice and tall where you can feel a long spine and you can feel that you're not tucked under, like your belly is tucked back. Lift forward a little bit. And I like this trick. I like to take my hands to my knees, pull my chest forward a little bit, and breathe from this space. So maybe adding a little bit more of that back bend to kind of open the heart space. Taking your elbows out really wide from your body, because sometimes we hold them really close, and that's a little restrictive as well, because we want to expand outward too. So inhaling and exhaling, starting with that belly breath again, and maybe it helps to have one hand to your belly again. You may feel very different being upright. You might feel this more just right around that navel space. And yes, we're really trying to exaggerate this here because you're going to see after you stop really focusing on your awareness, it's going to come back to a more natural state, but we're kind of exaggerating it to build a little more elasticity there. So you could take your hands to your side waist again, right around your hips. And feel that expansion out to the sides as well. One more breath like this. And this may be a little bit harder to do than when we were lying down with the roll underneath our back. This is just building and creating more. So move the hands up a little bit higher. So we're once again expanding the space outward too. So breathing into belly, then chest. Maybe after a while you don't need those hands there. Really exaggerating that opening. Building muscle. What we call muscle memory. The diaphragm is a muscle too. It needs to be strengthened. One more breath. And now moving all the way up. So feeling that breath moving from belly to chest to collarbones. Feel that expansion across the entire circumference of the body. Maybe you feel your shoulders go up a little bit or out a little bit, and we're exaggerating that movement, right? Really full, as deep as you can go, maybe a little bit more. And then let go. 2 more really full breaths. As full as you can go, maybe even a little fuller than you feel you can go. And last one. Let everything soften, and notice if your breath is a little bit easier. If you like to practice this whole thing just on your back with that roll, you can turn the roll lengthwise and then change it to across, and that will give you that up and down. It'll open up the upper chest as well. So if you're feeling a lot of that restriction way up here or in the throat area, it might be to turn it this way, sideways, will help a little bit more to open up that space. But I find that a lot of times it comes from us doing this when we're coughing or when we're sick or not feeling well. We tuck in and over. And by opening up that space and just kind of pulling those shoulders back and opening the 2 sides of the body and rotating them open a little bit more, we get that fuller, deeper breath. Think about doing this often, a couple of times a week, or maybe even every day, to just check in and take 5 breaths in each section. Just really filling into that and filling that 3-part breath and building that muscle memory and strengthening your diaphragm, because sometimes for a lot of people, your diaphragm can become very weak if you've been very sick or you spend a lot of time like this and you've just been breathing tiny, shallow breaths. That is a muscle that can get weaker. So we want to build that strength up. We want to build that awareness of opening the chest, opening the shoulders, opening up underneath the arms so you have that space to breathe. So that's why on the back it works really well to kind of open up first and then find yourself breathing. Come back to this often. Use it as often as you need, or you feel whenever you're feeling like you need to breathe a little bit more deeply. If you're under stress or anxiety, or even if you're recovering from an illness, this can really kind of help open up the chest and remind you of ways to kind of breathe fully in the full capacity of your lungs. And that will result in you feeling more oxygenated, less foggy, feeling a little bit more clarity, helping clear the lungs out and build some really healthy lung capacity as well. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you feel better if you've been sick, and I hope this helps you and supports you in all your daily life. Have a great week.